Is Lamar Jackson, with the additions of OBJ and the rookie that everybody loves and the new offensive coordinator, is he now ready to have the best season of his career?
Green, it's hard to top a unanimous MVP season. But I think it's going to look different. And I think he's going to have a hell of a year because I think the maturation of the passing game in Baltimore is going to take Lamar Jackson's game to that next level, the evolution of him as a quarterback. When you have guys on the outside that can threaten every blade of grass. Remember this Baltimore passing game, it was really about, Mark Andrews, the tight end in the middle of the field. Now you got OBJ, Zay Flowers on the outside. That opens up a totally different dimension for Lamar Jackson. I think now all the questions that some people had about Lamar Jackson, can he be, one of these other quarterbacks like a Joe Burrow or, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert type of quarterback? Well, guess what? When you add elite weapons on the outside, it gives you an opportunity to showcase what you can do at the quarterback position.
Yeah, and I feel like the Baltimore Ravens are one of those teams right now that actually aren't getting as much hype as perhaps they should be, right?
I don't know why.
Zay Flowers has been getting tons and tons of attention down at Ravens training camp. One, because he's a rookie that's shining, but he's understanding what Todd Monken is looking for him as an offensive weapon. And he's comfortable playing and being really anywhere on the field. And when you think about Odell Beckham Jr., if Odell Beckham Jr. can look like the player we saw in the Super Bowl in that first half before he was injured, this can open up so many different layers to Lamar Jackson. We talk about on this show all the time. Is this smart for Todd Monken to take a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, whose strength has been his legs, his mobility, and make him a passer? I think the answer is if it can find a balance. I don't think we're going to see Lamar Jackson coming out week one, throwing the ball all over the field like we see a Justin Herbert, a Joe Burrow. But I think if they can now add that layer to his game, then that just opens up the run game even more. And I think that's the way to look at it in terms of success.
Well, you bring up an interesting point. So, Sacho, they play Houston week one. If you're on that Houston defense, because we know they're not going to show you anything in the preseason, what are you expecting? Like, what are you going on that field for week one against this new-look team expecting it to be?
Well, if I'm on Houston, anytime you scout a new offensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, defense coordinator, whatever position, you go back and look at where they had been before. And so you may be going back and watching some old Georgia film. Todd Monken was at Georgia the last couple years. Go back and watch where he was at in the NFL beforehand. So that's what you're looking at. But you combine that with what Baltimore has done and what they've been. Yes, I understand that Baltimore will not be the same, but some of the same tenets and some of the same beliefs, you may extrapolate some of those. And so that's what you're looking for. Obviously, preseason matters, but you're going back and watching Todd Monken's film at Georgia, seeing things that he may use with a quarterback like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fascinating. Look, Lamar Jackson, he was a unanimous MVP. So, I mean, D. Wood said it right. To say he's just going to be better than that, that's a big statement. But it could be the evolution. This could be the next level of it. And if so, he could be a very interesting MVP pick again. At some point, you got to let the guy turn it loose. What do you think?
Well, I don't agree with Dan in this, and the fact that if you go and listen to the rest of CeeDee Lamb's interview, he's talking about how aggressive Dak has been in training camp, even more aggressive than he's been down the field. He's talking about how many shots Dak has taken down the field. And so I understand some of the talk about not wanting to turn the ball over and all those things, but the fact that you're saying that the ball is now in Dak's hands, all the decisions are now his, he gets to see he gets to decide what he sees and make a decision from there. For me, that tells me that Dak will be just as, if not more aggressive than he was last year. And oh, by the way, every one of his teammates, as you've heard from CeeDee Lamb's interviews, these guys have his back. They're telling him to be more aggressive. So I compare it to what we saw a few years ago with Kirk Cousins when people were saying, man, Kirk Cousins, he's too tight and taking the check down. Stephon Diggs says, no, just give me the rock. Back when Kirk and Stephon Diggs were back in Minnesota, all of a sudden we saw Kirk's game expand even more. I think we're going to see that kind of freedom from Dak Prescott this year based off what we just heard from CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, listen, I think people have kind of they run with this whole notion that all of a sudden Dallas is going to be ground and pound.
Yeah.
That's just not the case. It's not going to happen. Why do you trade for Brandon Cooks if that's what you're going to be ground and pound? The primary problem with Dallas last year, outside of CeeDee Lamb, nobody could separate. That was one of the reasons why Dak Prescott had the interceptions, because he was throwing in so many tight window throws. And then, listen, As it relates to Mike McCarthy talking about the run game, what he's talking about is being smart about certain situations. Because last year, 3rd and 10 plus, Dak had 5 interceptions. It's hard to convert 3rd and 10 in the National Football League. So you know what you do? You run the ball, you punt it, and you play to this defense that everyone's been talking about that feels like this defense is going to be a top 3 unit in the National Football League. That's what Mike McCarthy is talking about.
Yeah, there were some situations last year where they had leads and they lost them because they weren't running the ball enough. I think that's where some of the decision-making was under scrutiny between McCarthy and Kellen Moore. I don't think that's the exact reason in the end on why they moved on. I think this is a head coach going, I want my hands all over this. This roster is really good top to bottom, and they have to figure this out. It's not in Dak's DNA to play shy. I agree with Acha there. I think, if anything, he leads into it even more.
All right, so we'll see. Now, the one thing, this roster looks awfully good, but it could look a whole lot better, or at least the team on the field and training camp look a whole lot better if Zach Martin was with them. Zach Martin, I sometimes worry the fans at home who don't follow it day in and day out think to themselves, well, it's an offensive guard. How important can that player be? How would you describe...
So glad you're saying.
Uh-oh. Why are we losing? Uh-oh.
Because he's that good.
How would you describe how good and how important he is to their team?
Zach Martin's a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Zach Martin's going to get a gold jacket when his career is all said and done. Zach Martin is one of the best players at his position, any position in the National Football League. That's how good he is. And if you don't have Zach Martin on the field for the Dallas Cowboys, it's going to look a lot different, particularly up front for the Dallas Cowboys. So they need to make sure, I don't care what Jerry Jones got to do, make sure he gets behind in camp.
Yeah, Jerry Jones knows the value he has, the success that they have with Zach Martin on the field versus when he's not on the field. It's night and day, right? That being said, Zach Martin's sitting here going, there's 13, 14 other right tackles right now getting paid way more money than I am. This needs to get adjusted. I have belief, just from my conversations, that this will get done, that Jerry will work this out. I don't know the order, though. I can't tell you right now on August 1st who gets done first, because they have a lot of contracts to deal with. That is the biggest storyline at the camp right now. Who is going to get done? You know he's going to want to get Micah Parsons done quickly, though, because his price is just going to keep going up. If Jerry wants to save money, he's got to get these deals done now. Micah
Parsons going into year 3. They got the deal done with Trayvon Diggs. They have to deal with Trayvon Diggs. They got the deal done.
Correct.
And they're going to have to figure out something with Dak at some point here, too. I think the reality of the situation is that we all thought that they would get up very quietly. They didn't do anything with Dak's contract during this just past off season, which means you're going into a year where a lot of things could go in one direction or the other. His cap hit next year is like $60 million.
It's not a matter of they have to get this deal done. They have to.
With Dak.
And you remember, his agent played hardball last time around, and the Dallas Cowboys paid the price for it. They're going to want to get this deal done.
How about it all here, Sam Acho? Jump in with me here. Zach Martin, Dak Prescott, a lot of things sort of hanging in the balance in Big D right now.
I think the biggest thing is this. Yes, you need Zach Martin back on your team when the season starts. But for now, I'm not worried about this conversation because we're still in training camp. Training camp is the time for, yes, the team to gel, but also you to build some position flexibility. There may be right tackles playing guard, centers building some center guard combinations where they could play different positions. And so the fact that Zach Martin's not there right now is okay. But by the time the season starts, you need him on your roster if you want any chance of winning, not even a Super Bowl, winning in the playoffs, having sustained success for your football team.
Absolutely. And again, this is one just to keep in the very back of your mind is the quarterback situation there. I mean, there are very few positions in sports today that have the glamour that being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys does, right? There was a time when the center fielder of the New York Yankees was the biggest star in sports and all that. It's the quarterback of the Cowboys now, the guy with the star on his helmet. Look at Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman. Look where they are now. Look where Tony Romo is now. And let's just see how committed Jerry Jones really is to Dak long term. I've never, just sitting at this long distance, I've never gotten a full sense that Jerry Jones is fully bought into Dak being the star quarterback of the Cowboys. I could be totally wrong. I've not had this conversation with him. That is always the feeling I have.
I think Jerry Jones is a great roster builder,
Yeah.
right? We've seen it. He knows how to get it done. You may not feel the confidence, but Jerry's well aware of what the quarterback market looks like, and Dak is their answer.
Yeah, right now, absolutely. I think it's a very, very interesting season coming up in Dallas. Jiu-jitsu, D. Wood, your thoughts?
I mean, what do you want me to say?
I don't know.
Like,
did you do that? Did you do any of that stuff when you were?
My body doesn't know how to do a jiu-jitsu.
No, it doesn't. You can't do it?
This body's not made for jiu-jitsu.
I don't know that that's necessarily true. What do you think of this?
Look, we looked at Pilates and all that Brady training 15, 20 years ago and thought it was a little strange, right?
Yes.
Now we see all athletes from all different sports lean into this kind of training. So I think we hear jiu-jitsu, it sounds maybe a little off. So how can that possibly help a quarterback from getting hit? But I give Tua credit. He's trying to do everything he can to prevent himself from taking these kind of shots. I mean, we've seen, was it A-Rod that came in to teach Mark Sanchez how to slide?
It was Joe Girardi, yeah.
It was Joe Girardi.
Yes.
Whatever you need to do to try to figure out a way to try to teach your body, to try to teach that muscle memory, to build it up, to prevent, do it.
I don't know if Tua is going to benefit from this or not, but I do know that by the time today's show is over, I want D. Wood doing yoga. I want to see Damian Woody in child's pose. I want to see you in Warrior 2. I'll do Warrior 2 with you.
I don't even know what that verbiage is.
What do you think child's pose is? If you had to do it right now.
No, I mean,
Like, I don't know, like, what is it, like a crisscross applesauce type
No,
thing?
it's
like, what is that?
It's nothing like that. Sam Macho, yoga, Pilates, and jiu-jitsu, in or out?
Hey, I'm in for the jiu-jitsu. The yoga and Pilates, I don't have like D. Wood's frame or shape, but still some of that Pilates stuff would not always fit me either. Little bound at
so
times.
let's get serious here. So look, the reality of it is that this is going to determine, very easily could wind up determining who makes the Super Bowl from the AFC, right? I mean, it's literally that simple. This is my opinion, Sam. You tell me if you agree or disagree. If you told me right now that Tua Tagovailoa was going to play 15 or 16 games this year and be healthy at the end, I would tell you Miami has every bit as good a chance as any team in the AFC to wind up in the Super Bowl. I think they're that good. The problem is his injury history is totally different than most. It's not a knee, it's not a shoulder, it's not anything we're accustomed to dealing with. I have no idea if jiu-jitsu is going to solve the problem or not. What do you think of this, Sam?
Well, I agree with you, Greeny. So the thing about jiu-jitsu, it's teaching you how to accept contact, teaching you how to fall. And I get it. There aren't 300-pound D linemen chasing after you in jiu-jitsu, but it teaches you how to fall properly. Why does that matter? Last year, Tua Tagovailoa led the league in passer rating. He led the league in QBR. This obviously is all while he was healthy. When he got injured, all of a sudden this team started to tank and not have a lot of success. And so you combine Tua's health with Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle. You combine all that with Vic Fangio and that new defensive coordinator, right? And then Bradley Chubb and obviously Jalen Ramsey is injured. Now you have, but when he gets healthy, you have a recipe for quick success. And so you have the offense. Now you have the defensive mind and a healthy Tua. I couldn't agree more. If this team is all healthy and clicking on all cylinders, they have just as good a chance as anyone, not only to win the AFC East, but to make a strong Super Bowl run.
Not only that, Tua to Tyreek Hill could be the most productive quarterback-wide receiver combo in the NFL if he's healthy all year long. So before we run off to other business, let's ask the question to the entire group here. Which is the best quarterback-wide receiver combination in the NFL? I asked the question. Sacho, you're going with Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson?
I'm going with the record setter, man. I'm going with Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins. Why would you say that? All the quarterbacks you could pick, all the receivers you could pick. Justin Jefferson led the league in catches, led the league in yards, but also that catch he made in Buffalo with 2 minutes left on 4th and 18. Like Kirk Cousins, just as aggressive as some of these other quarterbacks, but now you have Justin Jefferson who's about to set every record you could imagine coming this season, passing Randy Moss, all these other guys, right? Even OBJ in certain records. That's why I'm going with that combination for most lethal.
would-
It's one
you're going
quarterback,
Joe Burrow.
one receiver, not a myriad of different ones.
I got you. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. It's an easy pick. We talked about it a little bit earlier today. But how do you feel about Diana going Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce? See, it says pass catcher
It says pass
on the
catcher,
screen.
not wide
Somebody,
receiver.
I want to know if Artie changed the screen
Yes.
right there. I think Artie changed the screen because there was no mention of pass catcher
It said
in our
wide
morning
receiver in the
meeting.
notes.
Not one.
Yeah.
It said wide
So,
receiver.
Not
yeah.
one.
I know how they produce this show, so I go outside the box. You all took the bait on the wide receiver. The best duo is Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. And Kelce may not be able to get that phone number to Taylor Swift, but Patrick Mahomes certainly has Kelce's number, right? Because he has been his security blanket in almost every situation. They don't need Tyreek Hill. He moved away, and they still won a Super Bowl because of Travis Kelce.
All right, and mine is the obvious one, which is Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson, followed closely by Aaron Rodgers and Mecole Hardman, followed closely by Aaron Rodgers and Alan Lazard. And then hopefully by Aaron Rodgers and Dalvin Cook, if we're allowed to include players at different positions. Okay. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.